Turn the lights back on. Wow. Retro electro tech. When real audio ruled the world.
Greetings once again, ladies and gentlemen. This is Retro Ernest of Retro Electro Tech, and as the title of this video implies, this is all about the little details and whether or not it is worth diving into such things for the type of equipment that I service. And the simple answer to that is yes and no. And here's what I mean by that. Really, when it comes down to it, there's not a right or a wrong answer. You know, there's yes and there's no, and they're both right. Depends on who you are and what you're, what you're into, what your thing is. With me, because I work primarily on vintage audio, vintage electronics, more so audio, and I work with people that for various reasons, numerous reasons, want to hang on to their old equipment, which I completely understand, because as I've mentioned before in a previous video, even recently, that it really was the best stuff made. And I'm not a believer in the whole throwaway society, ideology, mindset, whatever you want to call it. That's not how I roll. I'm old school. I think that besides the vintage audio being the best stuff ever produced, it's this whole generation now, or whatever the case, that wants to go to the big box store, buy the latest piece of garbage, the overseas garbage, namely China, and it doesn't last, and then it's in the dumpster, and then back to the big box store, and just keep filling up them landfills with more and more junk. So here's kind of where I'm going with it, and this isn't really about one specific piece of equipment, okay? But as you can see over here, and let me just kind of pan on over, and again, this is the Rotel CD player, and I had mentioned that I was going to fabricate a little a little latch or a post that busted off of this side here to hold this faceplate on the front of the drawer here, okay? So, and let me go ahead and cover this back up. Anyways, now back over here, that's exactly what I'm doing, and as much as I wish I had a 3D printer, and maybe someday, down the road, I'll be able to justify the cost, but right now, I still just do this stuff old school. I have some molds in the back that I've produced for different types of knobs, for different types of, makes and models, and, just over time. And, I just cast them the old school way, produce a mold and, cast the part and so forth. And then you're off to the races. Now, the funny thing is to make that little post, and I'll go ahead and kind of demonstrate what I'm talking about here. I started out with just a piece of scrap plastic from something that I don't even use anymore, and I just clipped it off of this and ended up with just a wider piece of plastic, and of course I cut it, and just with this file here, this rougher file, I just kind of did the rough filing, and then with the more refined file, the fine file here, I did all the detail work and all that, and ended up with this little what's going to be the post. Of course it's going to be cut down, I already have it kind of measured out there. And essentially what this is going to do is, let me bring this back over here. When it's attached to this faceplate here, it's going to be attached like so, okay? You can see the little area down in there where the original post snapped off. Once I cut this, and I'm going to use like a 2-part epoxy and secure it down in there. And once that's the case, this faceplate slides on from this side and kind of snaps in place somewhat. And you can see this, let me use a file to point. You can see in here there's this groove, and essentially what's going to take place is that this will slide in there and hold in place. Okay, you can see it's how it's shaped. If I bring it up closer, okay, and it's just going to slot right in there and hold. Okay, so little details, right? Little details, and is it worth it? Well, like I said, for some yes, for some no, and some customers it is all about the cost, and some customers not so much. Sure, everybody has a cap off point, and but the point is that when somebody wants something done, even as small as that, no big deal. And again, it's not rocket science. It's just using your hands and a little bit of thought process on, okay, how am I going to do this, and what can I use, and a little piece of plastic that I saw in the shop that I don't really use for anything. So raw piece of plastic, I'll use it, good enough. And carve out the part, not a big deal. So that's kind of what I wanted to point out, is that to a lot of people it's not worth it. It wouldn't be worth the extra expense, but to people that love their vintage stuff, this is what it's all about. It's all about resurrecting it, bringing it back to life, and working on little details like that to make to make it what it once was, and even something cosmetic like that. The customer could have technically lived with that little faceplate not even on there anymore, but again, little cosmetic details, and it was worth it for him to do. And that's about it. I just wanted to bring that out, and because I do a lot of this kind of stuff, and some of it is kind of time consuming because I do it by hand. I don't have a 3D printer. It's not wham bam, but for some it's worth it. And so that's it. So anyways, I just wanted to kind of point that out for those of you who are interested in this kind of stuff. And like I always say, peace, love, rock and roll, and of course, vintage audio. That's what it's all about here at Retro Electro Tech.
This is a poor man's shoe production.